Welcome to the Festival of Entrepreneurs, recorded live at the NEC in Birmingham. Over the next few minutes, you'll hear from some of the most incredible founders, investors, and business leaders who joined us this year.
I am very, very pleased to be having a conversation with somebody that I have known for a number of years, but only got the opportunity to meet in person yesterday. When you hear Melissa speak, you will understand we have quite a lot in common, but I'll save that little surprise for a little bit later. So, Melissa Curran is a multi-business owner. She is a best-selling author of the book Emotioneering, and she is the founder of Modern Minds Group. What I love about Melissa is how deeply embedded she is in what she does. She has spent 17 years studying organizations and delivering people programs and leadership programs, and has delivered over 15,000 hours of coaching and over 1,000 workshops in that time. So her experience speaks for itself. Her experience spans every layer of business, from fast-growing startups to global organizations. But what really stands out for me is her ability to blend data-driven insights with deep understanding of people, because I know that's not easy to do. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a lovely introduction as well.
Absolute pleasure. You could probably now hear the commonality between us, our accents.
It'll come out more the more I speak to Leslie.
Okay, so when you think about performance culture, and we hear that spoken about a lot right now, what does that really mean to you?
Performance culture means to me success, achievement, feeling good about that achievement, that achievement as a business doesn't happen at the detriment of the team, doesn't happen at the detriment of people, doesn't feel like it's got a toxic atmosphere, or that although we're rolling out the red carpet for clients or customers and not actually rolling the red carpet out internally for the team. That's what it means to me. It also means that it's a team. It's not a family. Sometimes I hear this quite a lot, that people will say, oh, we're like a family here. Well, I don't know about with your family, but we argue like hell. They annoy me. And I mean, I can't even get through a game of Monopoly with my brother, let alone try and run a business with him. So, and I know some people do it with their family, but that's them. To me, it really is about being a team. If we're rowing in the boat, everyone's got to be rowing in the right direction and have the same purpose or vision. And yes, there can be challenges, or there can be challenges with the status quo or the lack of belief in where we're going and what we're doing. And it's okay to ask questions, but just know that we're still on this journey. This boat or this bus is going on this journey. And either you're on it and you're going to keep asking questions and you're going to stay with it, or you're not. So that's what performance culture means to me.
Performance culture seems to be something that is very often spoke about, but is not delivered very effectively. And I think it's developed a little bit of a negative character about it these days, that people almost see it as something to whip their employees over. Do you see that?
Yeah, it still happens because so I have something called the Emotioneering Business Blueprint. So I go in and I look at 13 key areas of focus within the business, and I assess. The first thing I do is I assess what is happening and what's not happening, because whilst you as a business owner, for example, might invite me, you might say it's one thing, but then I've got to sort of go, okay, let me spend some time, do a bit of a discovery and see exactly what is going on. And what I find is, and it's quite true in many different businesses, no matter who I do this for, is that either they'll have a really high performance focus result and a low cultural initiatives within the team, or they've got really high cultural initiatives and they've got low performance focus because, oh, we're doing all these lovely things and we can't upset the apple cart or give anybody feedback, or vice versa. They're doing a lot of performance-driven things. Well, if he doesn't cut the mustard, he's going to be out. You know, if this isn't happening, or I'm not having it in my business. I know. Do you spend any time with them? No. Do you speak to them about anything? No. Do you know what motivates them? No. So it's getting that blend so right between the two. There's also companies and startups or scale-ups, and you might be in this camp here today, or you might work within one where all of it is sort of low from an analysis perspective, and there's room to grow. But it's really about getting that balance across the board that will give you achieve success and get you record-breaking results, because I've seen it time and time again. When the blend is right, it absolutely happens, and it's magic.
Now, you know, this is a passion for me, mindset. How much does mindset play a part in a company's ability to deliver a performance culture successfully?
Everything. This book, I think up there. This book has stories within it, in every single chapter. And the reason for that is because it's about belief. If you don't have your belief in your ability as a leader, and you don't have belief in your team or your ability to affect change, well, nothing's going to change because you're not going to take action. So belief plays a massive part in what we do. There's only two ways to change belief, and they're double S's, right? There's basically it's social proof. Oh, what's the other one? It's the end of the day. My mind is going blank. Social proof and stories and social proof, right? So like you were talking about, the statistical analysis. Somebody else has done it. I can see what their revenue, sort of imagine you are, let's just say you're I don't know, you're in a gardening company, and you can see that somebody else down the road has having success as a gardening company. You know metrically that that person might be shouting about, oh, we're over six figures, or we're going to 500,000, depending on how big their gardening company is, of course. And you can see, oh, well, statistically, I've got belief now that if I keep doing what I'm doing, it's likely to go to where it needs to be. But then the other part to that is the stories and understanding that somebody else might share their journey, like just like I'm sharing on the stage today, or you would share your journey in what you do to help me have a little bit more belief. Or if I can see it because there's that social proof, or I can touch it, or the customers are saying it, or the revenue showing me it. So if you've got both of those things, you can continually improve and increase belief. So that's one thing. As a leader, you have to keep doing that for yourself, which is quite challenging. That's why we have events like this. But when you're trying to do that with a team, you've got to listen out their excuses. They're not really excuses, they're kind of questions. And you have to sort of see them like that. They go, oh, as an example, oh, it doesn't happen like that on a Monday. Our customers aren't like that on a Monday. Okay, tell me what kind of customers you get. Let me come in and see what happens on a Monday to find out. And then you find out that, well, because we know that there's a lot of corporate flights on a Monday, they think that, oh, well, corporate customers aren't going to buy from us today, or whatever it may be, or some other belief. And then you have to start to unpick that, share success stories, make change, show what's possible, and then people will start to improve their performance. I hope that helps. Like, I don't know, it's a bit of a language.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Because
Because
say something.
absolutely, what I speak about a lot with my clients is the need to create the evidence. And if you create the evidence, then you have a choice. You have a choice to believe it or not to believe it. But when something is in front of you, you take an action and you've got that evidence, then that can motivate you to actually take that next step.
Yeah, although as a leader, it can't just be a one-hit wonder when you're trying to increase belief in your team to understand the journey that you want to take them on, or to improve performance. You have to go at it again and again until it works, until there's a moment where, or they say, Mark, actually, no way. There's no way. I think you're absolutely wrong. And then they might say, maybe this isn't for me, or they might go elsewhere. You have to keep continually feeding that belief, with different stories, with different statistics, which comes into a bit about the topic around that clarity and expectation. Because if you're not clear in sharing the message of what you're doing, or sharing the success that you've had, because you might know it really, really well as a leader. If you haven't shared that with your team, or spoken to them on a weekly, monthly basis, or they have no knowledge. So they don't know that we're still traveling at the same rate. They don't know that there's still the same amount of customers that are on the journey with us. So they can start to lose belief very, very quickly when that clarity and the lack of transparency isn't there.
I promise you, I haven't. I've written these questions, and Melissa hasn't. This next question, you're not going to believe. You often talk about the importance of clarity. You often talk about the importance of clarity in communication goals and values. From your perspective, what does clarity look like in action?
Clarity in action is checking that you are alight and that someone understands what you are saying and what the expectation is. That is it. That's performance in a nutshell. I don't necessarily have to give someone feedback about how they're performing to understand whether they know what I expect. And it's that, can I just check, like, what is it? What do you see? What are you understanding from this conversation and what we're aiming to achieve? And getting to hear it back. It's that if someone can explain it back to you just as well as you can explain it to them, chances are they're going to take that message forward and they're going to remember it and they're going to act on it. If that's not there, we've got some education to do as leaders. We've got some clear expectation setting, alignment, sharing the vision. Clarity is it is key. You can't see through murky water. You have to let it settle. You have to help people see and get a bit of a helicopter view. Think about as an example, I went down the beach. I mean, Wales is beautiful in the summer. If you haven't been, you should go and see some of the lovely beaches. But essentially, when those waves are rippling over on the shoreline and they're up, just there, you're just about to dip your toes in. You can't really see through the water. Well, unless you're in somewhere very, very expensive and nice in the Caribbean. You can't really see because when there's the waves, they're bashing against the sand. You can't see very much at all. But if you just take a little step further out, you can start to see a little bit clearer because it's not now so murky. And then if you look up, you've got the horizon, you've got that vision. And all you're trying to help people do is when they're in the weeds or they're down looking at the shore, they're in the sand, they're there in the grains of it all. You're trying to help them just lift their perspective, see what's going on in the horizon. Here's the clarity, here's the vision. Don't worry too much about what John just said to you this morning, because guess what? You, me, and John, and where we're going to go, and all these sales we're going to make, and this is what we're going to do with the company, and here's how we're going to develop things. That's what matters. Oh, yeah, you're right. That does, yeah, what I'm worried about doesn't really matter that much, does it? No, it does, and I appreciate your feedback. Let's just remember where we're heading and what we need to do. And that's about setting your vision, setting your strategy, making sure you've got a mission and you're setting goals, because people will start to make decisions and act differently when they know they've got those things around them. It's the rules of the game. You can't play football. I play volleyball for Swansea. I can't play volleyball if I don't know what the rules of the game are or what are the tactics, who am I supposed to pass it to next? And that's clarity in action. Sorry, it's a very long answer to you.
Oh, not at all, not at all. So, how does a great leader stop clarity being over controlling?
As much as I like a bit of script when it comes to service and sales, as an example, I don't want, I want someone to be able to explain something in their own way, with their own story or their own experience. Same ethos, same understanding of where we're heading, but allowing that sort of 80 percent closeness to what you're aiming for. I think you have to lose perfectionism. As a leader, it gets to a point where, especially when you're scaling up and you're taking on more and more people within your business, you aren't going to people, it's not their business. It's yours. So they're not going to care as much as some people will. And sometimes you've got to kind of just be mindful of that you don't want to take that too far either. But the majority of people aren't going to care as much as you do. If you can get them aligned with a goal, aligned with a purpose that matches their own goals and the things that they want to achieve as well, then as long as it's 80% towards what you're aiming for, then you're in a really good position. From a control perspective, I remember I worked in contact centers for years before I even did what I do now. Hey, Tim. I worked in contact centers for years, and I remember that people would come over and like lean on me to like listen to what I was saying when I was on a call or something, or to try and interject while I'm trying to have a conversation. It's, whoa, hang on. I'm in the mess right now. We can make it a little bit better later. Can you just listen and give me some advice later on, not try and change it while it's actually happening? And I think that's where that can become a little bit more controlling. Yeah.
And I think as well, it's not about delivering the message once, is it? It's not just about saying, so let's be clear, this is what I want delivered. I'm, giving crystal clarity on what I want. It is actually reflecting back that they have understood that the line of communication continues If things don't necessarily develop in the way the owner thought they were going to, they have the opportunity to get them on track.
Yeah, someone told me before, say old things to new people or in new ways. Old things to new people or in new ways. And you can't expect someone to just take what you're saying in one go and then, oh, well, I told you once. I told you once, that's it. It's like we were talking about earlier, it's taking them on that journey of belief. How do I help them understand the opportunity? It's also about development of the person, though. So that I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, but Johari's window is a really good example of helping people understand where they're at and where the possibilities lie, because it's about uncovering those blind spots. What is it that I can't see from a clarity perspective? This also comes back to that. What is it that I can't see that others can see, and I need to be aware of it, no matter how much I might be a bit nervous of that? Do I have respect for the person telling me? Do I care about the person that's giving me this information? And then what am I going to do with that? Sometimes it might be triggering, but again, it's we need to know. But then also there's this whole hidden element. It's I can't see it and other people can't see it. That's my potential. If you are not spending time with your team members, you might as well be taking time off their life or money from their wallet, because you're not helping them grow. You're not helping them get to this undiscovered area where they could absolutely thrive and grow in your business. But again, that's those that's that clarity area. It's helping people understand where they're at, and breaking down perception gaps. We've got four main perception gaps when it comes to learning. Number one, we believe we are better than we are. Absolutely. Absolutely smashed it. I believe I'm better than I am. Second, I don't believe I'm as good as I am. Think Susan Boyle, right? Susan Boyle stepped on the stage and she went, "Ooh," and she was like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, Simon." And she came out and she was like, absolutely sensational. She just didn't even know how good she was. And there's people in your team will be either sides of that. Then you've got number three. Um, I overestimate my ability to be coached. Yeah, but yeah, I'll do that. Did you do it? Yeah, no. But well, the thing is, right? That's where I think as coaches, and I know we've got some coaches in the room, we can definitely get clients or people that are at that point. And then number four is that it's a fixed mindset. I totally underestimate my ability to change my mindset, and I am what I am, and I'm not going to change now. And I think we can be at varying different degrees of those perceptions. And again, it's having conversations, getting feedback within the workplace, being a leader that helps people understand where they're at in those perception gaps. And then if you can close that, you can actually have a really high performing team and a strong relationship with them, by the way, because if you say it in the right way, you're going to get a bigger impact.
I also think, and I'd love to know what you think about it, I also think it's very, very important when you're working with teams to understand people's preferred way of learning. And I've discovered, whilst as a coach, I understand, some people have a visual way of learning, others an audible way of learning, etc. Actually, me putting that into practice as a manager of somebody in my team, I didn't actually take that on board. So I had explained something to her. She'd misinterpreted it, but it was on me for the way I had explained it, because I hadn't taken the time to understand her preferred way of learning.
Um, so there's two things on that. I'm going to come into learning in a moment, but yeah, and I love the fact that you're saying, but I'm taking that ownership. It's on me. Is it people, or is it, if something's not working in your team and it comes to performance, is it the person or is it the process? Have I actually done everything that's possible to help that person to where they need to be? Have I been clear? Have I set alignment? Have I set expectations? Have I provided feedback? Have I given them training? Are they even trained? Do they even understand the concept of what they need to do to get to where they need to be? All of those things. And if I have, then what is the process? What is the process of maybe how I'm training them, or the processes that I've set up for them to be able to refer back to when maybe I'm not there? Like, and there's a safety net, or there's something that's going to help them help catch the situation. On the learning part, it is about learning styles, but actually what we found, and what we found sounds like I'm part of every learning study on the planet. What experts have found when it comes to learning is that learning must have meaning. So whilst we might have kinesthetic, we need to be able to touch it, feel it, drive. We might have auditory learning. We might have visual learning. All of these, every single one of them matters. So if you're doing a presentation or you're working, so if you can find different ways of instructions, videos, visual, and then give it a go, all of these work. But ultimately, it has to have meaning to the person. It has to have purpose, and it has to mean something for them to actually relate it, which comes back to what I was talking about belief. If I can relate it, so say for example, I want to sell something, and I say to someone, I don't know, we're going to present this from a sales perspective in a top-down selling approach. So we're going to go in, we're going to recommend the top product or service that we have, and then we're going to move down, and nobody, oh no, I think it's just better to just go with the middle option. Most people go with the middle option, Mel, and I think we should just present that option to the customers. So what I could then do is say to them, okay, let's think about when you go and, Leslie, buy wine in the supermarket. What kind of wine do you buy in the supermarket, Leslie? I don't drink. Lies. So when you go to the supermarket, what happens if you're going to buy with red or white? Red. Okay, so you're going to buy red wine. What happens if you look at the top of the aisle? You're in the wine and you look at the top. What do you find? Depends which supermarket you're in. We're in Tesco.
Most expensive?
Yeah, you're going to find the most expensive. And then what happens if you look right down the bottom?
The less expensive?
Okay, and which one do you tend to buy?
The more expensive?
Okay. Nice, nice. You've got good taste. I like you. You're like 10% of the population, or maybe less. But what happens if you're the one that you really want, it's on the top shelf, that maybe you don't buy every week on a Friday? What happens when that's like discounted and it's on,
No, I got money coach, so I've got to be really careful how I answer this.
what happens when it's 50% off, 60% off, and it's on the end of the aisle now?
I'd probably buy it.
You probably buy it because you see the value
Yeah.
in that because it's on the
Exactly.
top shelf.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. We're building that value. We're going to have more people say yes to the second option, but only when statistically we potentially present it first. So that's just, I mean, I'm just doing that as an example of how I would approach and make it relatable to you to help you understand how maybe you could learn in that journey. But if we're not meeting people where they're at, we're not going to be able to help them to grow.
Yeah. What I'm learning from this conversation is, clarity is key when it comes to delivering, real performance within your team. But what are the practical steps people can take to ensure they are delivering that clarity of message so that everybody is on board and that they are then operating in the way that's expected to get the results that are required?
Well, number one, you could ask them. So like what we were talking about earlier, ask them back. Is this, what do you believe is expected? If that's a bit much for you as a leader, you could do an engagement survey, or you could send out a survey and you could ask them just to get some anonymous feedback and see whether they are saying the same things that you would say. Or there's observations, or there's coaching, asking them to record a pitch if they're with clients so that you can review it back and see where the gaps are so that you can help bring that clarity to that particular situation. If people are, I think it's easier sometimes to see when it's not working and oh, why has someone gone and done that? And you're getting frustrated because it would be a simple thing, but you haven't actually asked more questions, or you've become impatient. And maybe as a scale up or a startup, when you start to take on team members and you bring them into the team, you're still running at the same rate and you're still doing a lot of things. So you can become impatient with the process. And then just taking that pause to say, hang on a minute, let me take a little bit of time. Let me set them up for success and make sure that I've done the right things to bring them on that journey first.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's been really effective for me, and it's taken a little bit of swallowing of my ego, is actually asking for feedback.
Yeah.
How am I doing?
Yeah.
Am I clear enough in what I'm asking for? Am I putting too much pressure on you? Am I giving you the opportunity to feed into a better way of doing something? Because I know with the people that work with me now, they've got more experience with processes than I necessarily have, more experience with systems than I necessarily have. And therefore asking for that feedback, I think, and being prepared to be told, well, actually,
Yeah,
didn't quite do that in the way that was as effective.
that is the challenge, though. That's the ego, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
A lot of leaders won't ask,
Yeah.
and it could be because they're vulnerable. They don't want to hear that, and it might affect how they feel to continue to do what they're doing. Maybe they're, you know, sort of hiding how burnt out or how they feel about their business, and then that might just be that sort of step too far, and they do worry about how they're going to get that feedback. It could be that from an ego perspective, they're actually, oh, I'm bloody brilliant, me. I don't need to ask them any feedback or any of this. And there's that. I don't know if you still hear it a lot, and I definitely do still hear it. When I spend time with people, they go, "Oh, but my door's always open." To me, leaders, we have to go to the team. We have to go and meet them where they're at. Why do they have to come and what And there's the whole ivory tower, or I only sit over here. Come and talk to me. But as soon as you are paying, there might be people in the audience that understand this. As soon as you are paying somebody else's wage, they're not as transparent with you. And because there's an air of authority. There's an air of, God, I don't want to lose my job, or I don't want to say this, or I'm worried. And there's just this exchange, right? When it comes to people working in your team, that we lose that, and we have to meet them where they're at. We have to grow that relationship and spend time with them, so that we create that safe space, so that they know they can tell us something. And all right, I might get a bit prickly today. Just know that's probably what I tend to do. But tomorrow I'll take it on board and I'll adapt and I'll change. The worst thing that can happen from a clarity or a feedback perspective is that you receive it and you do nothing about it. You don't talk about why you're not changing it. You just ignore it and just go off onto something else. We've really got to sort of go, okay, I hear it. Here's my take on it, and here's why I might not change that particular thing, but here's what I'm going to do instead. Or you absolutely go, thank you, I've heard you, I'm still learning, and I'm going to continue to grow, and I appreciate you. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I like that. Now, when I introduced you, I talked about the impressive 15,000 hours of coaching. So I would imagine you have seen and heard lots of things in terms of how effective people have been in delivering effective performances within their organization. What are the challenges that you've seen?
I see it all the time. We don't give people enough recognition or understand what motivates them. Those are the top two things. We think great things about people. We don't say great things to people about them and what they do. That is a lot of the time what I see happen. And we go, oh, but they're brilliant. Why are they leaving? When did you last tell them? Well, they know they're good, right? They know that's why they're still getting. No, they don't. You have to. It was a study that was done. It was by Harvard, and they looked at what effective performance and what the ratio is within teams when it comes to giving people areas of improvement and recognition, or positives about what they do. And they did it on a 3-2. To me, I'd say 70-30. It has to be 70% of these are the things you're great at. And you might have someone that's underperforming, and they're not doing the things that you need them to do. But there's a reason that they're sitting there, and there's a reason they're in your team. Do they turn up on time? Are they really loyal? Are they a good team player? Are they fun? It might not be about the experience or the skills or the things they're bringing to the team. It might just be that we need to give them recognition for the things that they are doing great at. So that's the first thing. We just don't do it enough. We'll talk about the critical. Let's just take a little step back. Let's think about the positives before we go in to give feedback on how to improve. Um, and then the other thing that I see a lot of the time is that we won't know what motivates them. So we'll think they're motivated by the same things that we are. There are four main human motivational drivers, and they are incentive. I'm doing this in exchange for something else. Is it money? Is it I want to, I don't know, pay for my wedding, buy a house, whatever it might be. It's incentive. Recognition. I'm doing this because I want to be the best at what I do. I want to create a legacy. I want to get promotion. I want to be where you are one day. There is accountability. We're all driven by accountability. You put this camera on all of us all day, every day, we'd start acting a little bit different. It'd be very exhausting, but we would. Once that's something we don't want to let other people down, and we worry about what other people think of us. So accountability is always going to be a driving factor, shouldn't be the be all and end all. But I know I'm like that. I like to play team games so that I know that I'm not letting other people down. It's just the way I work. And then the fourth part is about purpose. So some people will go, well, I've worked in my career for recognition and incentive for a very long time, but now it's about something bigger. Now it's about the purpose of what I'm doing. Maybe there's been a big life change, but we have to know what that is and speak to that, because asking someone to make a change or improve their performance, for me, wow, that's selfish. Yes, is my business, and yes, these are the things that I want them to improve. But actually, what difference is it going to make to them? Like, what is it that does Leslie want to buy 5 pairs of Jimmy shoes because that's what you collect, or
The top wine on the shelf that I'm
that's
interested
the
in.
top wine. Me too. That's what I want to go for. But yeah, you have to know what they want. And a lot of the time, when I ask leaders, what is it that your team are motivated by? They just go, I think it's this. Think we need to know what motivates them. If they're in your team, find out, because it's going to make a massive difference between you achieving what you need to achieve and not achieving it.
And how much harder is it now in this hybrid world in which lots of us are working? So we know we spend some time in the office, some time at home. How much harder is it to incentivize your teams and also to recognize that it's going to be more challenging to have that depth of knowledge with regards to what they're doing and how they're achieving it?
Yeah, so I started my consultancy in, and not what I do now, the consultancy that I was doing prior to me opening my own consultancy firm, in a remote world. So I was coaching people in Germany, working with teams like in Italy, all over the world. And we had a very dispersed team. So I had to help other consultants grow and develop when I wasn't with them. So to me, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you communicate and whether you have multi-channel communication. And do you understand? I think this is where potentially as startups or as leaders or scale-ups, we can have a challenge, is that we don't understand it enough to know what it would look like if somebody was doing it. So we go, oh, well, I'm spending this money and now I've employed this person to do this thing. And really, I'm worried about how much money I'm spending there. I've got this. I'm worrying about how many sales I'm getting in over here. And well, what would it look like? I don't know. I was thinking this about marketing, right? You might go out and get a marketing, because I don't know, you've grown your business. You might go out and get a marketing person. I did this. And it's such a beast of a thing you're asking someone to help you with. I didn't know. I didn't know what they should be doing. I learned a lot in the process, but I ain't got a clue. I was like, well, is that any good? I don't know. I don't know about this. So I think we have to understand that you do have to become, in a way, a master of all things. What is it? A master of all trades. So kind of, my phrase is gone. That's it. Jack of all trades, master of none. But be a master of one, or something it is, isn't it? It's like the next bit on it. Just know just know enough about the different areas in your business to know what good would look like, or know the attitudes or the attributes that you're looking for from the people, so that you're not then thinking about what they're not doing, or keep them motivated enough, or have those checkpoints to know that there is that informal accountability. It's not, I don't need a camera on someone to know whether we've got a meeting next Thursday and they're going to come to me and they're going to tell me where they're at with their project. They're going to come and they're either going to bring the goods or tell me where they're at, or they're not, or they're going to miss deadlines. And I don't need to be sitting next to them to see that. What you do have a challenge with in terms of clarity, and I was talking about it earlier though, and around collaboration, is to understand best practice. And how do you share with somebody maybe that's in one country or in another country what best practice looks like when they aren't next to each other? Because you do learn from sitting next to someone on a phone or seeing how they would behave with other clients. So you've got to be really innovative in the way that you approach that learning and that best practice sharing. But maybe it comes down to face-to-face team meetings, whether you jump on Zoom and people share certain things, whether you record certain things and share it. But you've really got to think about that piece, because that's the bit that will fall down. Yeah.
Well, I have lots more questions I could ask you, but not lots more time. So I'm going to ask you one final thing very, very quickly. What's one golden nugget you want to leave with everybody in the room this evening?
been a lot of golden nuggets today, but for me, it's this. I would love people, people always say people leave leaders, don't leave jobs, they leave leaders, right? I would love to get to a point where people don't leave businesses because of leaders. It might sound really out there. It might sound like something that we could never get. But how do we get to that point where they're leaving because of an opportunity that we didn't create, or because they've outgrown where they're at, and not because we didn't have that relationship or we didn't help them to get? And that's what drives me. Ultimately, if I see that people could have that development or that growth or that opportunity by just being able to be brought along the journey more, then that's why I do what I do. Because no one should be worried about going to work the next day or having a meeting with their boss or worried about what they need to talk when they go into work and trying to do the best that they can with what they have. And yeah, transparent conversations have to happen sometimes, but it's not about the person. It's not about that individual 99% of the time. It's just maybe they're just in the wrong environment or the wrong goal. So yeah.
Thank you. Everybody, a round of applause for Melissa Curran. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching this special episode from the Festival of Entrepreneurs. Our mission is simple: to help founders and business owners grow faster, think bigger, and take action. And if you were part of the event, thank you for joining us and being part of the community. And if you missed it, don't worry. We'll be back with even more ideas, inspiration, and opportunities to help you take your business to the next level. You can find out more and register for future events at festivalofentrepreneurs.co.uk.